Hello, everybody. This is Manny Martinez from Relentless Leadership LLC Crestcom, and it's my pleasure to be once again with Australia's very own Andy Fell. Andy, how is the fall and winter beginning to look like for you?
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful, Manny. It's a glorious winter's day here, 23 degrees. It's a beautiful time of year.
Ooh, burr, 23 degrees. Yes, break out the scarves. Absolutely. It looks like the background today here in Washington State. That's Mount Rainier in the background. Reflection Lake, a beautiful place to go to, although it's not quite thawed out just yet. That's what it would look like in the middle of summer. Andy and I, we've been having some great conversations about leadership. This conversation may not be quite as fun because as leaders, we've all made mistakes. I would say that in the past, the mistakes that we've made have made us better leaders. Yet very often we are reluctant to share some of those stories. But Andy and I, we're not those kind of the same people. We're okay sharing stories about perhaps how we stumbled a little bit. But not just that, we want to also talk about how that made us better as people and as leaders. What were the positive lessons that came from that? So Andy, tell us a little bit about a situation where perhaps you made a leadership mistake and what you learned from it.
Yeah, definitely, Manny. Well, first of all, I'll share two leadership themes, and then I'll jump straight into a very early leadership lesson, actually, that's stayed with me through my whole life and career. Now, when I was in corporate business, one of my mantras was speed stuns, to lead with real pace, urgency, and direction. The only thing I ever did slowly was recruit. And the mistakes I've made, if I'm talking generally, were when I went against that whole mantra of taking my time to really make sure I found someone who was a really strong cultural fit for my team and for the business and for the organization, as well as having all the skills and capability. So when I recruited too quickly, when I recruited in haste, I think I lived to sometimes, just doubt my decision a little bit that I've made the right decision. So that'd be one thing. Really, really take your time to recruit people for cultural fit. The second theme is I'm a great believer in coaching the moment. So when you see a behavior that's even a little bit off, there's a gap between the expected behavior and the actual behavior. Sometimes it's too easy to just walk by it. The individual's trying really hard and perhaps you're really busy as a leader. So you think, oh, I'll just let it go. Well, self-correcting behavior is very, very rare. So, I have this mantra of coaching the moment. And when I've not followed my own mantra, perhaps I've suffered the consequences of that. So there'd be two general themes, recruit slowly and make sure you're really investing in finding someone who's going to fit the team culturally. And then whenever you see a behavior that's even slightly off, you coach the moment to make sure you help that person back onto the expected path. But I want to go right back in terms of my leadership mistake to when I was at university. And this was my third year at university, my final year. And I was the captain of the college football team. So round ball football, that you call soccer in the US. It's a word that I really struggle to use. It's football. And anyway, so I'm the captain of the team. And in college football at my university, that meant you were also the manager. You were the captain, you were the coach, you were the manager, you selected the team and everything else. And we were a relatively small college. And the year that I was captain, about halfway through the season, we were actually top of the league. And this hadn't happened for about 20, 25 years. And in a particular game, I suffered an injury. I broke a bone in my foot. And I was out for a considerable number of games. And I just got myself back to full fitness in time for the last game of the season. And we were still top of the league. And we were playing the team that was second in the league. And whoever won this game was going to be crowned champions. And as I say, this hadn't happened for 20, 25 years in terms of the particular college. Now, here I was, I'm 21 years old. I've got a leadership dilemma. The team has done really well in my absence. Do I select myself into the team, or do I leave myself on the substitutes bench and let the guys that have been doing the job successfully in my absence carry on. And I hate to say, Manny, but ego took over. And I wanted to put myself back into the team because I was the captain. We were going to win the game. We were going to win the championship. It's the first time in 25 years. But at the same time, I knew I wasn't quite fit enough because I wasn't match fit. I was physically fit, but I wasn't match fit. So not only did I reselect myself, but I selected myself in a different position, which meant I had to move one or two other players around. So I changed, not only did I drop someone, but I also changed the formation of the team. So I could reselect myself in a position where I thought, I could handle the physicality of the game. Anyway, by half time, we're losing by 3-0. And we lost the game. And let's just say I wasn't very popular in the changing room afterwards. It's when I realized there's no I in team. It's when I realized that ego is the enemy of achievement. It's when I realized that actually you've got to put the needs of the team before the needs of yourself. Now, I could have kept myself on the substitutes bench. I could have brought myself on with 10 minutes to go if the game had been in a particular different situation. But as it was, I let my own ego take over. And that opportunity was lost. So there's a real learning. Ego is the enemy of achievement. There's no I in team. Put the needs of the team before your own personal needs and your own personal ego. How about you, Manny? What's a particular leadership mistake that you've made, and how have you learned from that?
Yes. Well, Annie, thank you first for being so open and candid about that. It's still with you all these years.
It's still with me.
Lesson that's been helpful to you in your life. My leadership lesson, the mistake that I found myself, and this is something that even occurred as late as my last few years in my military career, was something that Ronald Reagan, former US president back in the 80s, used to talk about: trust but verify.
Yeah.
Trust but verify. I was not the kind of person that liked micromanagement. Nobody likes to have somebody look over their shoulder all the time, watch every single move they make. However, do you know what your people are doing well enough that you know that they are going in a direction you want them to be in accomplishing the goals that your organization expects? Very often, I gave particular important tasks to people to perform, and I knew that they were talented. I knew that they had the right attitudes. I knew that they could do it. However, if we did not have particular structures in place to do the verification process, what I found was very often there would be a breakdown in how we got particular objectives met. For example, we had a situation where we wanted to move what we call a flight kitchen. It is a place where we provide meals for military air crews that are flying missions. It was right on the edge of what we call the flight line, the runway. But that place was not very useful, and we were having to have an operation there running with one person or two people, and we had our main dining operation separate, where all the really good things were. So we wanted to combine everything in one location and still run our flight kitchen out of the main dining facility. Well, we had great people assigned to, this is what we want to do. We want to relocate our services. These are the objectives we want to achieve. Yes, we can do this. So go and run with it. And then we wouldn't follow up. We didn't take the measured steps to make sure things were going in the direction we wanted them to. What should have been maybe a 3 to 6 month process took nearly 3 years to complete.
Wow.
And along that particular 3 years, what happens in the military, you get changes of new commanders, new senior leaders, new stakeholders, if you will. And when you bring in a new stakeholder and you are changing the face of your operation, what happens? They have to go through the change process. So now we're having to reconvince people who had been convinced to go along with the change. Now they're pushing back. Why are we doing this? How is this going to affect the people who we're feeding? Wait a second, I don't think this is a good idea. We tried that somewhere else and it didn't work. We ended up slow rolling this process over 3 years. Did we get it achieved? Yes. But when we actually completed it, it was at a point to where we gave so many concessions away, where my organization ended up taking additional tasks to make it happen. And that was additional workload on junior staff members.
Yeah.
We got what we wanted, but at a cost perhaps a little greater than we would have liked it to be. All because we did not do the verify aspect of trust but verify. And here's what I've learned. It was not their fault.
Yeah.
It was me. And so the lesson was, if I want to make sure that people are able to accomplish the objectives of our organization, I've got to put together the environment, the structures, the systems for them to succeed.
Yeah, and I think, sorry.
No, go ahead. And so learning that, I used that for other situations, and lo and behold, just a little bit of involvement, not micromanagement, but just a little bit of involvement every so often to make sure that we were staying within the guidelines and the constructs. And if there were issues or concerns, we were able to do some great things in other areas, all because of that terrible lesson learned that it took 3 years to get that process along.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I love trust and verify. And again, in my business, we had inspect what you expect, which I think is just drawn from trust and verify. But I think you've hit on two beautiful things there. First thing, a great leader always looks at themselves first. And then secondly, a great leader is present and available, as you say, without, management's like holding a dove. If you hold it too tightly, you kill it. If you hold it too loosely, it flies away. So it's just getting that balance, which again, you've articulated so nicely there, Manny.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. So I've never told that story.
Yeah.
I mean, I told it inside military circles in frustration, but not necessarily as, here's the lesson that I learned. And so this has been great. All right. Well, Andy Fell, always a pleasure to speak with you, to spend time with you, to talk about leadership. Thank you for your time and for your wisdom.
It's a real pleasure, Manny. Take care.
All right. Be safe.